The divine unveiling, how to recognize the hidden gifts that have been with you all along. Have you ever felt like something inside you is different, but you can't explain it? Like you've been carrying a kind of invisible fire your whole life. Maybe you've been called intense, too sensitive, too deep. Or maybe you've been through so much pain that you assumed you were cursed. But what if I told you that what you thought was brokenness was actually brilliance in disguise? That the very things that made you feel out of place are the exact signs that you've been gifted by God, not with ordinary talents, but with spiritual power that transcends logic, culture, and time. These aren't gifts that make you popular. These are gifts that make you chosen. And once you recognize them, everything in your life starts to make sense. Not easier, but clearer. Because when God marks you, He does so with purpose. And He hides that purpose in places you'd never expect. Your patterns, your presence. The first and often most misunderstood gift is the gift of divine perception. This isn't about seeing visions or predicting the future. It's about being able to see behind the veil of what people show and what is actually true. You walk into a room and feel the energy before a single word is spoken. You meet someone and know they're lying, even if they smile with perfect charm. You sense vibrations, frequencies, even timelines. You know when something is off, not because of evidence, but because your soul whispers, "This isn't it." God gives this gift to His chosen ones because they must walk paths that others can't see. But here's the challenge. This gift can feel like a curse if you don't trust it. You'll gaslight yourself. You'll doubt your knowing. And that's exactly what darkness wants, to make you second-guess the very compass God placed inside your chest. So I ask you now, when was the last time you ignored your knowing and paid for it later? The second spiritual gift is the gift of sacred isolation. Most people will never understand how lonely the chosen feel. It's not regular loneliness, it's a divine separation. From a young age, you may have felt like you didn't belong. You were the black sheep, the outsider, the observer. You weren't excluded because you were unworthy, you were excluded because you were set apart. God hides His chosen in plain sight, not to punish them, but to prepare them. You couldn't follow the crowd because your destiny was never in the crowd. And so, you wandered. You questioned. You searched. But that wilderness season, that was your training ground. That's where your roots grew deep. That's where your discernment sharpened. That's where you learned to hear God in the silence. So if you're still in that season now, if you're feeling unseen, misunderstood, or forgotten, remember, before God reveals, He removes. Before He sends you to the people, He pulls you away from them. Because what He's forming in you is too sacred to be rushed. The third gift is the gift of emotional depth. You feel everything more intensely than most. Your highs are higher, your lows are deeper, and sometimes it feels like you're drowning in your own heart. But this depth is not weakness, it's spiritual intelligence. Your emotions are not random, they are messages from the divine. Every tear you've cried was a prayer. Every ache in your chest was a download. And when you stop running from your emotions and start listening to them, you activate a level of wisdom that no textbook can teach. You begin to read people without words. You begin to speak healing into others just by being present. Because your emotions are not noise, they are instruments. And you are a vessel of sacred resonance. Think about it. How many times have you wept and felt the shift, not just in you, but in the room around you? That's not sadness. That's intercession. You're moving energy. You're transmuting pain. You're doing priest work in a modern body. The fourth spiritual gift is the gift of disruption. This is the one most people reject because it doesn't come wrapped in beauty. It comes wrapped in chaos. Wherever you go, things change. Systems collapse. Truths are revealed. People are forced to confront what they've avoided. You might feel like a walking storm, but let me tell you something. God sends storms to wake the sleeping. You were not made to blend in. You were made to break patterns. Your presence carries the frequency of reformation. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, people may resist you. But don't let their resistance make you forget your role. This world doesn't need more comfort. It needs clarity. And you are the living embodiment of that clarity. So if you've ever been pushed out of jobs, relationships, or communities because you rocked the boat, understand this: you weren't rocking the boat, you were revealing the leaks. Don't dim that. Don't apologize for that. Stand in it. Because disruption is not destruction. It's the beginning of divine reconstruction. The fifth gift is the gift of spiritual language. This doesn't always mean speaking in tongues or reciting sacred texts. It means your words carry weight. When you speak, people listen. When you write, it pierces. When you sing, people cry. Your voice is a portal. Your language is encoded. And whether you realize it or not, you've probably been speaking life into people your whole life. You've probably said things that shifted someone's entire trajectory without even knowing it. That's not small talk. That's spiritual transmission. God gave you a mouth not just to speak, but to create. And with every word, you are either building heaven or echoing fear. So I challenge you now. What would happen if you became fully aware of the power of your voice? What if you stopped speaking from pain and started speaking from prophecy? Imagine the worlds you could build, the hearts you could mend, the lives you could awaken just by being intentional with your words. The sixth gift is the gift of time distortion. This is one of the most mysterious gifts. You've probably noticed that certain moments in your life felt like they stretched or collapsed time. You think of someone and they call. You dream of a place, and suddenly you're there. You feel like you've lived this moment before. Or maybe time moves faster when you're in alignment and painfully slow when you're not. This isn't imagination. This is quantum consciousness. God has given you access to the architecture of time. You are not bound by linear logic. You are tethered to divine timing. And this gift allows you to collapse timelines, to accelerate healing, to leap into new realities, to download futures not yet manifest. But it only works when you're in full integrity. That's why chosen ones often feel delayed or blocked when they try to force things. Because your gift isn't speed, it's synchronicity. Trust the pace of your soul. Time serves you, not the other way around. And finally, the seventh gift is the gift of remembrance. You've always felt older than your age, like your soul has lived many lives. You come across ancient symbols and feel something stir. You hear certain music, and it feels like home. This isn't fantasy, it's spiritual memory. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. And in this remembering, you unlock wisdom far beyond your years. You begin to access ancestral knowledge, past life codes, divine blueprints. You don't learn truth, you recognize it. And this gift makes you a bridge between worlds. You carry the old and translate it for the new. And as you remember more, you begin to help others remember too. Because the chosen don't just awaken for themselves, they awaken for the collective. And your remembrance is the medicine this world has forgotten it needs. So I ask you now, which of these gifts have you been hiding? Which have you been doubting? Which have you only half accepted because you were afraid of your own power? Because God doesn't give gifts to impress people. He gives them to transform realities. And you've been chosen to carry 7 of the rarest, not because you're better, but because you're ready. Even if you don't feel ready, even if you feel broken, behind, or unsure, these gifts are already in you. Your only job now is to remember them into reality. How to activate, protect, and walk in your spiritual gifts without fear or burnout. Now that we've uncovered the 7 most powerful gifts God gives to His chosen ones, the real journey begins. Not in theory, but in practice. Because what's the use of having a divine inheritance if you never learn to access it? Too many chosen ones live beneath their potential, not because they lack power, but because they were never taught how to activate it. We were taught to hide, to shrink, to doubt ourselves. But spiritual gifts are not passive. They are living forces that respond to attention, intention, and alignment. And if you don't steward them well, they'll either lie dormant or be hijacked by fear, ego, or other people's agendas. So today I want to walk with you through the process of claiming each gift fully, not with arrogance, but with reverence. Because when you activate these gifts with humility and precision, your life becomes a living altar. Your presence becomes a frequency that changes rooms, heals timelines, and disrupts darkness without saying a word. Let's start with the gift of divine perception. Activation begins by trusting your inner knowing more than external approval. That means you must stop outsourcing your discernment. You don't need a committee to confirm what God already whispered to your soul. To sharpen this gift, practice daily stillness, 5 minutes with your eyes closed, tuning in to the subtle voices beneath your thoughts. Journal what you feel, not just what you think. Then test it. See how often your intuition was right. Over time, you'll learn to distinguish fear from foresight, emotion from truth. But here's the key. Perception without purity becomes manipulation. That's why God often humbles chosen ones before activating this gift fully. Because if your heart is not clean, your perception becomes a weapon instead of a tool. So ask yourself often, am I seeing through love or through wounds? Because the lens you use will shape the reality you create. For the gift of sacred isolation, activation means acceptance. Stop trying to belong where your soul is not assigned. Isolation becomes power when you stop seeing it as punishment and start using it for preparation. This is your incubation chamber, your spiritual laboratory, your cocoon. Use it wisely. Study the mysteries. Tend to your inner temple. Fast from the noise of the world and feast on the voice of God. But here's the danger. Prolonged isolation can turn into depression if you don't anchor it in purpose. So set sacred structure. Create rhythms of rest, reflection, and creative expression. And every time loneliness creeps in, remind yourself, I'm not alone, I'm being positioned. Because when the time is right, God will reintroduce you to the world as a completely different being. Not one who needs the crowd, but one who carries the crown. The gift of emotional depth is activated by learning to feel fully, but not drown. This means you must become an alchemist of emotion. Don't suppress your feelings, transmute them. Anger becomes fuel. Sadness becomes compassion. Joy becomes prayer. Shame becomes testimony. But this only happens when you bring awareness to your emotional waves without judgment. One tool I give my students is the sacred breath pause. Whenever a strong emotion hits, pause for 60 seconds and ask, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Then breathe. Let it move through you. Don't attach. Don't resist. Just feel. Every time you do this, you build emotional capacity. And the more capacity you have, the more spiritual weight you can carry. Because in the kingdom of God, emotional maturity is spiritual authority in disguise. Now let's talk about the gift of disruption. This one will either elevate you or exhaust you, depending on how you use it. To activate it properly, you must first understand that your presence is meant to reveal truth, not just be liked. That means you must release the addiction to being understood. Most people will not understand your frequency because you weren't sent to fit in, but to shift the room. So when things fall apart after you arrive, don't panic. Observe, listen, pray, and most importantly, stay in alignment. Because if your own life is out of order, your disruption becomes chaotic instead of catalytic. Keep your heart clean. Keep your motives pure. And above all, speak only when God says speak. The most powerful disruptors are not loud, they are precise. They don't cause chaos. They cause clarity, and clarity always disturbs comfort before it delivers transformation. The gift of spiritual language is activated through intention and frequency. Your words are spells. Your voice is a vibration. So stop speaking casually about things that matter spiritually. Learn to speak as if heaven is listening, because it is. Practice blessing your own life out loud. Declare truth over your day. Speak life into your body. Pray in your own sacred language, even if it doesn't make sense to your mind. And listen carefully to what words you use when you're in pain. Are you prophesying defeat or declaring your resurrection? Words are seeds, and chosen ones must learn to plant with precision. One practice. Record yourself reading scripture, poetry, or your own affirmations and play it back daily. Let your own voice become your spiritual anchor. Because the more you speak with alignment, the more heaven backs your voice with divine authority. The gift of time distortion is activated through presence. You must stop living in the past or the future and learn to collapse into now. Everything you need, every answer, every miracle, it's all encoded in the present moment. But most people miss it because their mind is somewhere else. So train yourself to return to now. Breathe slowly. Observe without judgment. Feel without rushing. And when you do, you'll begin to sense the divine rhythm. You'll know when to move and when to wait. You'll be in the right place at the right time. Not because of luck, but because you were aligned with Kairos, God's appointed time. But be warned, time distortion can tempt you into impatience. You'll see what others can't, and you may want to force things. Don't. The faster your vision, the slower your pace must be. Because you're not just moving through time, you're shaping it. And finally, the gift of remembrance is activated through exposure to sacred symbols, silence, and service. The more you immerse yourself in ancient wisdom, scripture, sacred texts, nature, chants, the more your soul starts to remember its original assignment. But remembrance is not just nostalgia, it's activation. When you remember, you realign. You stop trying to create your identity and start revealing it. And the most powerful way to remember is to serve. Every time you help someone awaken, your own memory deepens. Every time you speak truth, you remember a little more of who you are. This is the paradox. The more you give, the more you receive. Because your memory is not stored in your brain, it's stored in your impact. And when your actions match your soul's design, divine memory floods back like a rushing river. You remember what you were born to do, who you were born to be, and why your suffering wasn't random. So I ask you, which of these gifts are you ready to activate today? Which are you still afraid of? Which have you allowed to be silenced by society, religion, or your own self-doubt? Because these gifts are not just abilities, they are assignments. And the longer you delay them, the more the world suffers from your silence. But when you rise, when you activate, protect, and walk in your gifts with humility and power, the world around you begins to transform. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. In the next part, we will go even deeper into the dark side of spiritual gifts. You'll learn how to avoid the traps of ego, burnout, spiritual envy, and false light. You'll discover how to serve from overflow, not obligation. And most importantly, you'll learn how to walk in power without losing your soul. How to master your gifts without falling into ego, burnout, or spiritual deception. Once your spiritual gifts are awakened and active, the journey shifts. It's no longer just about discovering your power, it's about mastering it. And mastery requires more than talent or divine favor. It requires purity of heart, clarity of intention, and the humility to remain a student, even after you've become a teacher. Because here's the truth many don't want to admit: gifts alone do not make you holy. Gifts can be misused. Gifts can be corrupted. Gifts can become a trap if your soul is not anchored in truth. This is the final initiation, the stage where many chosen ones fall. Not because they lack power, but because they fail to see that power is not the goal. Union is. Intimacy with God is. And the moment you begin to use your gifts for ego, validation, or manipulation, you've already started to drift from the divine. So the question becomes, how do you stay pure, powerful, and aligned in a world obsessed with performance, image, and fame? The first danger is ego inflation. Once people start recognizing your gifts, once they start coming to you for answers, praising your insight, or following your every word, it becomes tempting to believe that you are the source. But you're not. You're the vessel. You're the flute, not the breath. And the moment you start claiming the glory, the flow begins to constrict. God doesn't stop using you, but the purity of the transmission shifts. It becomes about you, not the message. So you must return daily to a posture of surrender. Speak these words in secret: God, use me, but don't let me get in the way. Build rituals of ego release, fasting, solitude, service without recognition. Let people forget your name, but remember the feeling they had when they were in your presence. Because true spiritual authority doesn't draw attention to itself, it disappears into the divine. The second danger is burnout. When your gifts awaken, people will pull on you. They'll want your time, your wisdom, your healing, your energy. And if you're not rooted in boundaries and rest, you'll become a leaky vessel, pouring out more than you receive. This is where many burn out, break down, or go numb. But remember, God did not give you power so you could become a slave to other people's expectations. You are not responsible for saving everyone. You are responsible for staying in alignment. Give from overflow, not obligation. Say no without guilt. Let your silence be a sermon. Because spiritual maturity means knowing when to stop speaking, when to retreat, when to refill. The most powerful chosen ones I know are not always visible. They disappear often. They protect their frequency like gold. They understand that their gifts must be guarded, not just displayed. The third danger is spiritual comparison. As your gifts grow, it's easy to look at others and feel behind, unworthy, or even superior. You might see someone channeling light with more clarity, or someone attracting more followers, and begin to question your own path. But this is the trap, because every chosen one has a unique assignment. Your gifts are tailored for your soul's curriculum. You're not here to duplicate anyone. You're here to embody what only you can embody. And sometimes that means walking in obscurity while others are praised. Sometimes that means going deeper instead of wider. Sometimes it means losing followers to gain freedom. So check your motives often. Ask yourself, would I still walk this path if no one clapped? Would I still serve if no one saw? Because if the answer is yes, you've already won. You've passed the test. You've chosen truth over trend. And finally, the most insidious danger is false light. This is when your gifts begin to operate without the presence of God, when performance replaces intimacy, when charisma replaces character, when spiritual knowledge replaces spiritual embodiment. The world is full of gifted people who lost their way because they began to serve the gift itself instead of the giver. They kept the language but lost the light. They looked awakened, but their hearts were hollow. And this is why chosen ones must return daily to the altar of humility. You must ask, am I still in union with God, or am I just performing the motions? The simplest way to know is this: when you're in true alignment, there's peace. Not performance, not pressure, but peace. And if you've lost that peace, it's time to return. Not to your platform, but to your prayer closet, because your gifts are not your identity, your intimacy is. And when that is pure, your gifts will always serve something greater than you. So I'll ask you one last time, will you carry these gifts with reverence, or will you use them to build a throne for your ego? Will you protect your soul even when it costs you success? Will you walk away from the spotlight if it means staying in the light of God? These are the final questions, the questions that separate the gifted from the anointed, the talented from the truly chosen. And only you can answer them, not with your words, but with your life.